This is the video review of Shinkalion Z, E5 Hayabusa, and Yamanote combination. So here's a look at the box. It shows you different combinations you can pull off. And then in the box you get the instruction sheet, which I did have to use for the first time in a Shinkalion line. You get this sticker sheet to put some more color on the figures, which I haven't applied. And I pre-ordered this item, so I got this, I think, a limited edition little mini comic catalog of the upcoming figures. So it actually doesn't show you anything you probably haven't seen before. The Azusa Nozomi combination is coming out later this month, and I'm probably not going to be getting it. And then inside the box you get this huge plastic tray which comes with about 30 different train parts, which is the biggest problem I have with this figure. So here's what Hayabusa himself looks like. Pretty good proportions. Pretty excellent looking robot mode. I'd definitely rate this robot a 9. He's very sharp looking. And then if you turn him around, there's really no kibble whatsoever. And that comes at a really huge cost. So here's the Tobot Transformers size comparison. He's definitely leader class size on Transformers. And he's almost the size of the new Tobot figures, so pretty large. And then here he is with LDCX Red Dragon and the original Hayabusa from Shinkalion. Okay, so let me get right away into what really bugs me about this figure. This figure has to be parts formed into 8 different parts in order to transform. This guy, on the other hand, you have to parts form into 3 different parts because you have to remove both of his arms to transform him, and that's it. And they both have the same gimmick where you can swap out the arms and you swap out the legs. Same gimmick on this figure, but with much less parts forming on this guy. So as far as that goes, as playability, I really don't like parts forming, so I'd really give this guy a 2 for playability. And this guy is just much more enjoyable to transform. Even though his plastic quality is way lower, his cost is also lower too. He costs about 1/3 of the price of Hayabusa. And then in comparison, Red Dragon here really loses on articulation. This guy just destroys him with articulation. It's so much better. So Hayabusa has maybe the best articulation out of any figure I own. And then comparing the Shinkalion Z Hayabusa to the original, I think this one really does have better proportions than the original Hayabusa, because the original Hayabusa has these really long shoulders and then really long ape arms that go down to his knee almost. And then he's got these huge chunks for leg armor. So I think the new version really does fix that and make him look more sleek. But the new version also has kind of this sunken head look that's just kind of like sunk into his hunched shoulders. And then the old one I did have to fix. So I did put a ball joint neck right there to give him a higher, more graceful neck. So this isn't the original figure, so I did cheat a little bit on that. But personally, I just prefer the original Hayabusa because this guy only parts form into 2 parts. His upper torso and his lower body. That's all he does. This guy has 8 parts. Really, he has 12 parts if you count everything you need to turn him into a train. So I think I'm going to stick with my original Hayabusa, and I don't think I'm going to be keeping this new one. And then a couple other things I want to point out is I really like the original Hayabusa's head sculpt. It's very simple but very striking too. There's not too much going on. This head sculpt looks really busy and kind of garish. The eyes just look like too much for some reason. They look very cartoony compared to this one. Looks a little bit more sinister and serious. And this Hayabusa looks a little bit more goofy to me. And just the head is just so busy. There's just so much going on. And this one's just so simple and clean. I really prefer the original. And then the other thing that kind of bugs me about this figure is it looks like he's wearing swimming trunks. He's got, and that's probably because I didn't apply the stickers on his skirt, so that's probably my fault. But the original, he looks more like this. He's got like a skirt and legs. So I don't know why they made these parts gray. It just makes it look like he's wearing a pair of shorts. Okay, so that's it on the nitpicking. I really do think this is still an excellent looking robot and is definitely a 9. I just think it's a shame you can't raise the head just a little bit to make him look a little bit more sleek. And I think they could have made the trains a little bit longer to make him look more sleek, but overall these are pretty good proportions, and he's already pretty skinny. And the articulation is just really excellent. So this shoulder goes 360. You've got pretty much a full outward motion. You've got a bicep or an elbow that goes more than 90 degrees easily. You've got wrist swivels for once. You've also got a ball jointed neck. And then a waist swivel. You've got soft detents on the outward kick, and you get full splits. You get full forward kick, which also has soft ratchets, full backwards kick. You have thigh swivel, and then a double jointed knee. And then you have ball joint ankles to give you any possible pose you could possibly want from this figure. Like, posing him feels really good. You can get him in really cool poses with very little effort. All the joints just work really well together. My only complaint is this neck joint is if it raised up, you could get more range on the head because it does kind of crash into the collar area. So really strong robot mode. I would definitely say it's a 9 for aesthetics. He's looking really good. Not quite like the Shinkalion art, but he's getting closer. But he's not quite as good as the models. And then for hand feel and quality, he's definitely a 10. Everything feels rock solid. He's a really great feeling figure in hand. Okay, so now I'm going to do a swapping gimmick. You just yank out his shoulders. And then you replace them with the Yamanote shoulders. And then just as a little aside, I've definitely been on I've been on the Yamanote line a lot, especially going to Akihabara. So there's definitely an element of nostalgia seeing this train in Shinkalion. So I really like that they did that. And I'm pretty sure that was a deliberate choice. And then you're going to take his little daggers and combine that with this sword weapon here. And then last time I went to Japan, I did actually see Hayabusa in person, and that's when I started collecting Shinkalion. Okay, so looking at this configuration, I've got to hand it to the designers. This is a 10. This is just such an awesome looking robot. Like, how can you deny that he just looks great? Everything looks solid, on point. The weapon's looking pretty good. The shield. Everything just works for this figure. He's definitely looks bulkier, even though the legs haven't changed. The new arms definitely give him a new aesthetic, and he looks just incredible. And then unfortunately, there's really nothing you can do with these arms. You can just throw them in the pile of unused parts. So all the train wheels you might have noticed are not on this robot. They're all separate pieces now. So that is really a cheap move. And then he also comes with this storage car, which is what you can put the daggers on. And that's just the middle train. And then unfortunately, the wheels on this car don't even match the new wheels. So that's really disappointing. They should have made the small wheels on this car too now, because these wheels are more realistic. So to get him ready for transformation, you're just going to take apart all of his parts, so all the Yamanote parts. I'll separate first. And then the sword weapon is its own part, and then these daggers are separate, of course. So this is going to be separate. And then this arm is one piece, and then the front of the metro train is one piece. So here's all the pieces that make up the Yamanote train. It's not too bad. I'm okay with that because it's an accessory pack. And now we have to finish taking Hayabusa apart, so we're going to take off his torso from his waist, and that just separates with this nice joint here. So this is its own piece. And then these little extra leg panels, these do have to be disconnected in order to transform him. There's no hinge to put these in the correct place, even though it really only moves this much. They could have easily worked in a hinge or something, or a slider. That's really unfortunate. And then to finish the legs, you do have to disconnect all the legs. You can't leave them connected, which is really sloppy engineering. Okay, and then here's Hayabusa ready to transform. I won't count his weapons, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 parts. Okay, I definitely miscounted that. It's 12 parts. That's about 7 parts too many for me. Okay, so the legs transform in kind of the same way that he did originally, and I forgot to fold this panel around. So he's really good at hiding his gaps. But this panel goes down, and then the toes are going to fold up, just like the original figure. And there you have part of the leg section. Now you have to take this section, the front of it, and you're going to want, well actually, save that for later. Okay, so now you have the 2 leg sections done. This is the part that really bugs me, is this has to peg into this now on the leg section, but the original connection is just right there. So this is where these legs peg in normally. It's really just from here to here, here to here. They could have just made the knee fold backward a little bit and just made it so you don't have to do this extra little step of parts forming. So at least the legs could all be one distinct piece, but no, you have to detach the legs. There's no way to do it, and I think the commercials were a little bit dishonest with that part. I did see the parts forming here, like these 2 sections. So the nose section you're just going to peg into itself, and then you just slide that over the front. Oh, actually no. Sorry, I've only done this one time. You're going to use this tab. We'll tab in here on the side of the waist. And then this isn't working because I didn't fold up this cod piece right here and put that into place. Okay, so there we go. There's the legs all done and the front section of the train. And then you're going to want to take these train pieces so that your train can have wheels. Otherwise, no wheels. So those have to peg in. And you have to peg in. These pieces that don't have a connector do have to be in front. You cannot put a connector piece in the front to make a longer train, unfortunately. Okay, and now for the torso piece, it's pretty obvious, and I forgot to show off, he's still got his little cannon in the connector piece there. So this is pretty obvious. You're just going to hinge this all the way forward so it's out of the way. You're going to fold the head all the way down, and there's barely enough clearance to avoid paint scraping. And then you're just going to fold this piece. You're just going to slide it back and tab it in. And that's basically the front nose cone. And the shoulder pieces are very easy. You're just going to slide this all the way forward. And then the shoulder's on a slider, so it... Oh, actually, no, that's not correct. So this shoulder is just going to transform like the original figure. It's going to fold into itself, and that's one arm done. Once you have the 2 arms folded, you're going to peg them together, and then you're going to peg that into the front nose cone. And that completes basically the front of the train, except no wheels, so you have to take care of that. So you peg those wheel sections on, and now we have 2 train sections, and you can connect that to the accessory train. And then of course the swords just peg in right there, and then you're just going to cover that up with this top bit. Okay, and then here's the original Hayabusa compared to the new one, and you can see there is a little bit of color difference. The original has some speckling and darken effect, and the new one is just a little bit brighter. So, but nice paint all around. They are pretty indistinguishable. They're very similar. Okay, and then to transform Yamanote, this is where I got confused. You do slide these shoulders. We'll slide in to hide the transformation joint. And then you're going to want to fold those up and out of the way, and then you just fold this panel down, and you've already got a good portion of the train. Okay, same with the other arm, and this time they're not going to sandwich together like you would think. They are actually just going to make up half the train and the roof. So now you're going to take this spear weapon, and you're going to tab that into the arms right here. And then you want these holes at the bottom, because that's where the wheels are going to peg in. And then finally you take the shield. You open that up, and that's going to clip right here to close up that side. Okay, and then actually finally you're going to put the driver window on the front, just pegs in place. And then same deal, you have to put these connector ports on the bottom. And actually the way these are arranged, you can probably make this a middle train. Let's try it out. So yeah, I could make this the middle train if this set of wheels actually had a connector, then I could make a train that looks like this, but you unfortunately don't get that option because you don't have that set of wheels. Kind of an oversight. Okay, so here's the train modes. I am really nostalgic for this train especially. I would say the trains are probably an 8 though. I like the realistic wheels down here, but these wheels really destroy the effect. You can't really peg this into the middle, unfortunately. And I'm just really spoiled by Red Dragon here, which, if you turn to the side without the screw holes, just looks much more realistic. It's the right length. He's got the proper wheels without cheating. This train is just much better, I have to say. Compared to this, looks kind of chunky and childish. It just kind of doesn't work. Alright, so thank you for tolerating my review. I'll be less negative when I review his brother Komach. So it's going to have the same kind of issues. And if you're still interested in this figure, you can get yours at Amazon Japan. That's where I tend to get my Japanese figures. Especially because there's very inexpensive 2-day shipping, which is very nice. So I'll leave the link in the description.